Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Emmy. So it's right now the end of August and I am very busy right now, doing all the stuff for university and preparing for this new year. And that's why I have been, I have spent less time in making videos recently. But what I thought is that just before I go to university, I just wanted to, have a roundup of all of my experiences and tips for the subjects that I have taken for the IB. So that's why I'm going to make a series of videos on how to achieve a high grade in each of the IB subjects that I have studied. And we're going to start with psychology, which is my favorite subject. Now, as around IB psychology, you might have heard a lot of myths. So a lot of people say IB psychology is super difficult. It's impossible to achieve a 7, but on the other hand, there are a lot of people who say IB psychology is a subject in which even if you have your eyes closed during the exam, you can achieve a 7. So it's a hyperbole which shows that it is very easy to achieve a 7 in psychology. Now, neither of the myths are true, and psychology is this kind of subject where it does not require you to, it's not like math or chemistry where there are some exercises that you just can't get it right. So in psychology, everything is comprehensible if you pay attention and if you put in the effort to understand it. So that's why I wouldn't say that psychology is like more difficult than math or chemistry or physics. But on the other hand, psychology is not easy because IB psychology, as you might know, has a really high workload because it has a lot of content-based knowledge, which means you have to learn a lot. And it's probably one of the heaviest subjects in the IB, I would say. So that's why it's not that easy neither. So in order to achieve a high grade in psychology, I think you have to find your own way of studying. And in today's video, I'm basically going to share some of my best tips and advices on how I achieved a 7 in psychology, which hopefully can be useful to you guys, whether you are already an IB student or are about to start IB and have chosen IB psychology, both at standard and higher level. I truly hope this video can help you, and therefore if you're interested, please continue to watch and don't forget to subscribe. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is procrastination. If you want to do well in psychology, then stop procrastinating is your first step. Now, as I said before, psychology has a lot of content-based knowledge, which requires you to memorize a lot. Therefore, if you cannot plan well on when to study a piece of work, then it's going to be very difficult. Now, because of its workload and content-based knowledge, you can't learn everything just the night before the exam, which is known as mass study. So mass study cannot live with psychology. Psychology requires spaced practice, which is a term that I believe that many of you are very familiar with. So make sure that you plan well. You make sure you divide each of the content, each of the topics into subtopics, and plan when to learn these particular subtopic and when to learn that particular subtopic. Overlearn, make sure that you are really familiar with everything about this particular topic, and then start to write essays. By planning well, you are effectively fighting against the almost inhumane workload of IB psychology. As you've probably heard from other IB psychology students, that the workload is super high. You have, a massive amount of essays, possible prompts that could come up, which requires you to do a lot of preparation and practice. But although this workload may seem very high, it is still manageable as long as you do not procrastinate and plan well. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is work smarter instead of harder. So having so much to memorize, the first thing that probably comes to mind is, okay, so I have to work harder to make sure that I memorize everything. Now this thought is not bad, and it's actually very good, but it's not the only kind of thought that you have to have. So the thing that I want to talk about is how to work smarter in IB psychology. In this case, you have to have some sort of strategic planning, okay? So we know that a prompt that has been asked in the last year is very unlikely to come up again in this year. So that prompt may receive less of the attention from you. Whereas a prompt in which it has been long time since it has been asked, then that prompt has a higher chance to come up in your exams, and that is where you may put more of your attention on. So that's called strategic planning in psychology. You have to be able to, even though you can't do this 100% accurate, but still you have to be able to predict, look for the pattern of the prompts that come up, and plan your studies according to this. In this way, it can save you a lot of time while making sure that you put your energy and effort in the right place. So the third thing I'm going to talk about is start early, okay? And start early is different from time management and different from procrastination as well. Start early really means start early. So for example, when you finish a level of analysis, let's say by the end of November you have finished the biological level of analysis, then during Christmas holidays, just write out all of the possible essays. Don't just leave it to the end. Let's say in June you're going to have an official paper one as an end of year exam, and you want to make sure that before that you are prepared. That start from Christmas. There's no one who says that you must start preparing for the June exams during May, right? And this is the beauty of time. This is the beauty of freedom. You can decide when to start to plan for something. So whenever you feel like, okay, I have finished this section of the course and I want to just review all of the topics during a particular holiday like Christmas, then just do it, and it will save you so much time. It will also prevent procrastination at the end. Okay, so that's a technique that I have always been using because in psychology we have a lot of stuff to learn. Therefore, starting early is really, really, really crucial. So the fourth thing that I want to talk about is always be critical. Okay, so as you might know, SAQs do not require critical thinking, but still as a psychology student, it's always good to be critical because that's what gets you the points in a 22-point essay, which is like a normal essay. So do not always, and this is not something that can be, taught, I personally think. So it's not something that you can find in the textbook, and it's not something that is comes naturally to you. You have to practice. So whenever you read through a textbook or a piece of research, always challenge each statement that you read. Okay, ask why not this, and make sure your brain is always active. I think this is super important, not just as an IB student, but as a psychology student in general, okay? Because we're dealing with big things, we're dealing with human beings, and you know, it's really difficult to say that anything is certain about human beings. There is just so much room outside there for us to be critical, to challenge ideas, and once you acquire the skill, you will find that it's just so much easier to write a good essay and at the end a good IA as well. So I have said a lot, and those are my real advices and tips for IB psychology, which I think is very doable for everyone. And the point is to say that IB psychology is not as scary as you might think, and it's not as easy as you might think. It's somewhere in between, and it really depends on from person to person, and there is also like an element of interest in it, because I'm interested in psychology, therefore it feels to me that whatever I do is like reasonable because I like psychology. So again, that's a really good point. I think if you do not like psychology, or if you want to choose psychology just for fun, or just because you think it's easy, then don't choose it, because it's not going to be easy, and its workload will be unbearable to you. So yeah, I truly hope this video has helped you. If there's any question, if there's any sort of tips and advices that you want to ask me for, I'm always here, and just leave a comment below. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.